Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion. So, Ed Davey's been speaking to the BBC over the last couple of days at his party conference. And it was quite an interesting interview, but one particular part of the interview I wanted to speak about, where he basically said that he felt that he and his party had a moral duty to keep Nigel Farage and Reform UK out of power. And he went on to say that voters were turning away from the Labour and the Conservatives, and some were attracted to Reform. However, he argued that the Liberal Democrats could be the alternative by offering radical change. Okay, in tune with British values. Now, is he right? Is he actually personally right? My problem is I think he's full of shit. Because the Liberal Democrats aren't an alternative to Labour and Conservatives if you're considering reform. They fundamentally aren't. Because the question you've got to ask yourself is this, and it's a fundamental question: why are people leaving Labour and Conservatives and going to reform? And it boils down to pretty much just one reason. Because it's not because of what they want to do with the economy. It's not to do with benefits. It's not to do with crime or any of these things that are fundamentally the most important things I would generally say. Okay, if there's an election going to be fought, okay, as long as I can remember, these are the types of things, and there's lots of other things as well, taxes and all that kind of stuff, that elections are fought on. Whether it's in a local election or it's a national election, it's in a general election. Okay, so why are people going to reform? And it's for one reason and one reason only. Because they're the only party, and I wouldn't vote for a reform. I openly admit it, I would not vote for a reform. Okay. And it's because of illegal migration. Illegal migration, or as whilst they're at the detention centres, asylum seekers. The amount of them that are in this country and the amount of scaremongering that goes on. And because everybody believes everything that gets said, okay, and I'm not saying all of it's untrue, because a lot of it is true, some of it's untrue. Because of that, they will go to reform. They will not go to the Liberal Democrats. They will not go to the Greens, okay, because they're in favour of migration. They've got no interest in controlling it. They're no different to Labour at the end of the day. Honestly, no different really to Conservatives. And that's hard for me to say because I'm a Conservative voter. Okay, so the reality is, and I'm sorry, Sir Ed Davey, as you like to be called, you're not the alternative. Unless you're willing to address migration numbers, you will never be the alternative to reform. You may want to be, but unless you address that one fundamental policy and be willing to address the numbers, you will not be able to take on reform. And I'm sorry, you may not like to hear that, but that is the reality of the situation as it is at the moment. And that's the one thing you've got to address. And you're in a better position to be able to address it than the Conservatives or Labour, because the Conservatives can't really address it because they've got a leader that's too weak to do it. And they fundamentally screwed up the last 14 years that they were in power. And Labour can't address it because they're too gutless. And under Tony Blair, he made it nice and easy. And under Keir Starmer, he's weak. He's fundamentally weak. You know, he goes and says he's going to do a cabinet reshuffle, and he just moves the existing ministers but into just different jobs at the end of the day. So he is correct that he's the only person that can offer something else, but he needs to offer something better, and he's not doing that. So until you do that, Ed, you're not going to be the alternative, and I'm sorry for that. The only way you're going to be the alternative is if people want uncontrolled migration coming into the UK and are willing to accept illegal migration. So if you can convince the general public, which you're not going to be able to, that as a country we don't mind uncontrolled migration, you're not going to be the alternative. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. If you think I'm talking rubbish, no problem, you can say that. But for now, thanks for listening. Please do give us a follow or subscribe. I would appreciate it. But for now, thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you again a bit later.